This is the world's toughest podcast. Welcome to the world's toughest podcast, where we talk about any obstacle course race you'd like, as long as that's world's toughest mudder. Each week we talk to members of the WTM community and share stories of success and failure in the single greatest event in OCR. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the world's toughest podcast.
Today on our show, Tiffany Aab. You may remember Tiffany Aab's name from the Road to the World's Toughest Mudder show that CBS had last December. Tiffany and I actually sat down about a month and a half ago to talk about Tough Mudder and World's Toughest Mudder, and this is our first chance to get it out. So Tiffany, thank you for your patience. It's worth the wait. Also, last week I was talking about Tough Mudder Arizona and the people that I ran with, and I knew I shouldn't have started naming names, because as soon as you start naming names, you forget somebody. And David Thanos, I apologize, man. You and I, we went together for the better part of, 5 or 10 miles, and you even told me a story that I wanted to tell. So you remember like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I told the story on the podcast about the first guy who ever said, "Hey, nice podcast," at Toughest Mudder LA to me. I was running, and he ran past me, just kind of slapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, man, nice podcast." I kept going. I didn't know his name, didn't see his face, and I ran into David Thanos at Arizona. He's like, "Yeah, man, that was me. I got on the podcast, but it was anonymous." And so David Thanos, thank you for the kind words, and I enjoyed running with you at Tough Mudder, Arizona. Biggest news in the World's Toughest Podcast world this week is we got a shoe deal. Merrell is offering shoes through the World's Toughest Podcast all year this year for free. We're giving away 3 pair in about 3 weeks. So go to the World's Toughest Podcast Facebook page, and you'll find directions. Basically, all you need to do to win a free pair of Merrell Agility Peak Flex trail running shoes, send an email to worldstoughestpodcast@gmail.com with Merrell in the subject line. And the body of the email include 4 things. Include your name, your email address, your cell phone number, and yes or no to the question, would you like to receive updates from World's Toughest Podcast and special offers from Merrell? We're going to give away 3 pair of the Agility Peak Flex shoes on the May 9th episode of the podcast. And then every month after that, up till World's Toughest Mudder, we're going to give away 1 more pair leading up to World's Toughest Mudder in November. So thank you to Merrell. And we're pretty excited about giving away some free shoes for them. So shoot me an email, worldstoughestpodcast@gmail.com, and give me your name, your email address, your cell phone number, and yes or no to the question, would you like to receive updates from World's Toughest Podcast and special offers from Merrell? And you can find more information about that at the World's Toughest Podcast Facebook page, facebook.com/World's Toughest Pod. No Tough Mudder this weekend, but next week, Toughest Mudder Atlanta. I will see you in Atlanta, and next week on the episode, we're going to talk more about it as we get ready for it. Let's talk to Tiffany Aab.
Tiffany Aab, tell me about your first World's Toughest Mudder.
Oh, wow. Well, my first World's Toughest Mudder was this past year in 2016, and there's so much I could say about it. It was probably one of the most emotional days in my entire life in so many different ways. I did 35 miles and many, many more in penalty miles. I was actually doing the event with a torn rotator cuff.
Oh.
And so that was fun. So that allowed me to do a lot more penalties than I would have liked to do.
Sure.
It was, prior to the event, I was part of the St. Baldrick's team. So it was my 1 year cancer free. So I ended up shaving up my head, donating it to children with hair loss. Mm-hmm. And, that I had so much anxiety built up from the race and from the anniversary, and from, there was just so much into one day. Mm-hmm. As soon as my hair was off, it was just, I was like, okay, I got this. I'm ready. I had a panic attack the night before to the point where I had to call my dad. Mm-hmm. And then I met my friend Tondra, who is, she was the one who is a childhood friend that she actually shaved my head, and she is terminally she's a terminal cancer patient. And so it was really even more of emotional that I was sharing that with her, that she was able to come in from Utah to do this. And then, the hair got off, and I remember, as you saw in the movie or the show Road to World's Toughest, I kind of screamed, but it was somebody had tried to take a selfie with me. I saw myself,
Sure.
with no hair for the first time, and of course that's the part that they showed as me like freaking out. Thanks for that wonderful editing. And then it was just kind of like a weight that was off my shoulders. Like, okay, I got this. I'm ready to run. And the first 2 to 3 laps, I felt really, really good. I really hit a low on lap 5. I didn't pit very long prior to it. I was kind of on a high. I did like the do-si-do with Sean, coming in after 20 miles. And I was just, I went up and I met my coach, Nicole, and I just was like, no, I'm good. She's like telling me to take this and I was like, no, I don't need it. I'm good. I'm just going to go. And, that lasted until like 1.5 miles in. And I remember going like, oh, maybe I should have taken that nutrition, because I was like draggy. I had like no energy. The cameras were finally away, because, I had the cameras following me. And on all the laps prior, anytime I got into one of those like, oh crap, this sucks, mode, they were right there,
sure.
Around the corner, like, hey. And then I'm like, oh, I have to put my CBS face on, And they took a nap by the time I was, so the camera crews were gone. And I think, it was close to midnight, and I just had no energy left. And I remember hanging off of Everest, and I couldn't do anything. I was I couldn't pull myself up. I couldn't move. And I was like, I'm not DNF, I don't want to disqualify. I'm not DNF. And, and all of a sudden somebody came up, behind me, and I was like, oh, we got this. And, gave me that little push, and I was able to get up and over it. And then from then on out, I just kind of pushed myself, got through the 25, and I pitted a little bit longer. I knew I needed to get some rest. So about 1.5 hours, I think, in the pit, just trying to warm up. I was going through some hot flashes with the no hair, and trying to regulate my, body temperature was really difficult. I had thought that I was going to need all these beanies or what have you, but I kept, I would wear them for like 20 minutes and take it off. And that actually continued probably into January.
Sure.
Where I was, just almost the week after World's Toughest, I was sick, and I couldn't regulate my body temperature. I was cold 1 minute and hot 1 minute. It was just really weird. But, in my last 2 laps, did the sunrise, 6 and 7, my laps 6 and 7 were the best laps I did. Did it with my friend, a friend of mine that had kind of really helped me out after, I got sick and stuff. And I'd actually moved in with them. And so, my friend Chris Cow and his wife was his pit crew. So they were like motivating me, come on, you got to go, you got to get out. So it was definitely a really fun last 2 laps, and came in, and it was crossing that finish line. There was nothing that has ever felt that good. And just to know where I came from and what I've been through. And I literally ran from the cliff all the way into the finish line with absolutely no energy left whatsoever. But I was like, I'm going to run.
Yeah.
And then Sue from Merrell was actually, she kind of caught me like right as I was coming in, and she was like, I'm going to run it in with you. And, I was like crying, and, of course the cameras are like following me.
Sure.
And in the photos that, it was afterwards, I'm like, wow, I really looked rough.
Yeah.
It was just such an awesome moment.
Yeah. What was it like with the cameras? Like on a regular Tough Mudder, when you run past spectators, everyone who's been walking starts running, when they see the cameras?
Right.
What was it like having the cameras trailing you the whole time?
I think they were a little relieved when they finally found me, because they were, busy running with, everybody, the contenders.
Sure.
And, everyone else in the show. And so they were a little winded. And so then I'd come around and, look, there's Tiffany. And so it was, it was interesting. Definitely in the earlier laps, it kept me a little motivated, because, I knew at some point in the lap, 1 or 2 times I was going to actually bump into him. Mm-hmm. So there was a little bit of the motivation. There was one time I was up on Backstabber with Heather Heaton, and she was behind. I think she was on the opposite side, and she was helping pull me and Shaney up, and the camera crew got in our way in a way, and he almost fell off, and then she grabbed him and saved him and pulled him, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you,"
He almost fell off the top of Backstabber.
Yeah, he totally almost fell off the top of Backstabber. And so that, gave us a little bit of a giggle. So we talked, crap for the next, quarter of a mile, just, something to talk about. Then there was a lot of pressure, I think, knowing that, I'm not the athlete that I would want to be yet. I'm still, from the point where, from World's Toughest to when I did my first event was only 8 months. Mm-hmm. So, there wasn't a lot of training time. I mean, I did a lot of training. I prepared myself as much as I could in that 8 months. And I did a lot of events. I mean, that was my 10th Tough Mudder. I think 16 or 17, other OCRs. And then I did all these, handful of races that, so I loaded in my weekends, and but it was still, in reality, I've still only trained for 8 months prior to WTM. Mm-hmm. There was the pressure of, am I going to be able to make it? Am I going to be able to do it? I don't want to look, I have the, that pride factor where I don't want to look like an ass on TV, mm-hmm. Fail in public or something. Or what if I don't get, my goal, I didn't want to have a mileage goal. I just wanted to have go out there and do it and stay on course for 24 hours. Sure. Which I believe that I did. I did I did pit a little bit long, after my 5th lap, but I think that I was completely dehydrated and I had no energy. So it was definitely something that was needed. And I got more miles than I thought. I was thinking I'll at least get 25. Being that I got 35 and actually more because of the penalties, unofficial miles. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It was definitely something I was proud of. I mean, going from, I hadn't ran a mile probably in 10 years, 8 months prior, mm-hmm. to, doing an event that most people wouldn't do. I have to be proud of the experience, and I'm training this year. I hope I hit 50 is my mm-hmm. goal. Sure. So, I want that brown bib, but cool. So now saying a mileage, I'm like, okay, so I'm doing my first half marathon this weekend.
Oh, nice.
So that will be, and I hate running. So I'm like, can't we throw in an obstacle?
What was your first Tough Mudder?
My first Tough Mudder was LA last year.
Okay. What got you into it?
I had done 2 Spartans prior. My first event, the whole OCR thing, my first even mention of it was actually watching a Shark Tank episode. Okay. And Rugged Maniac was on it. Yeah. And at that time I was probably 60 pounds heavier than I am now, just not in a good place in my life. And, I was like, oh, I totally would want to do that someday. And it, previously I was a United States Navy rescue swimmer, naval air crewman. And so in my, from my early days, until I had my son's 14, I was highly active. And then I got out of the Navy and life happened and I became a mom and, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. So I completely got out of fitness. But so when I saw that, I was like, it reminded me of some of the obstacle courses that I trained in the Navy. Sure. And then when I got sick, I was waiting in a lobby to come out and for the doctor to come and tell me if the cancer, if they found any evidence of the disease. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting in the lobby, and I was on Facebook because what else do you do? And I'm scrolling through all these ads, and there was something for a Spartan race, and I was like, oh, well, you know what? If I'm clear, I'm going to do these. I'm going to sign up right now. So, the doctor came in, and it was November 12th, and he had told me that there was no evidence of disease, and I was good, and to continue doing what I was doing because I had modified my diet and started the whole exercising and all that. Said continue doing what I'm doing. You'd see me in 2 months. I was like, okay, and that so that night I signed up for the Spartan race. Mm-hmm. And did my first Spartan in January, the end of January, and then I went out and did another one, and I had met at the Vegas Spartan. I had met a member of the WTM community, PJ Catalano, and he was just kept on going. It was anything they were saying like, oh, this isn't even motivating. Their start gate isn't motivating. You need to really get into Tough Mudders. They're the best. And then from talking about the event to talking, he was telling me about this world's toughest mudder, and I remember thinking like, you're freaking crazy. I can't. And he was like, he's like, oh, and there's sandstorms, and I was crying, and and all of these emotions, and I was like, still thinking that he's crazy. And then I went home after that weekend and started looking it up, and I realized that it was November 12th, which was like 1 year from when I decided I was going to make these changes, and 1 year cancer-free. And I was like, oh my God, I have to do this event. Mm-hmm. So I was like, but prior to me committing or saying that out loud, I want to actually do a Tough Mudder. So I had signed up for the LA event, and it was the the Marvel. I did the Marvel heat, so I ran my first Tough Mudder in spandex.
They were promoting Captain America's Civil War.
Yes, the Civil War.
Half the people in the first wave were wearing Iron Man suits, and the other half were wearing Captain America suits, right?
Captain America, and I did it with two friends that I had met just training, and then a girlfriend of mine from the Navy. I loved and hated like every minute of it. I hate the hills and but it was such a different vibe, and the other two I did it all. The group of us, it was all of our first Tough Mudders, and we were all like, this is better than any of the other races. Like everybody was helping each other. There was just a different vibe on the course. People were smiling. People, were happy. The beer tasted better at the end. Like there was just such a different, and it was just like, this is what I've been looking for. And, as a veteran, you get out and you get kind of lost, because when you were in, your work was like your life. Your work, like you hung out with everybody that you worked with, and you were, it was more like your family, because you were all, somewhere where you, far away from everybody, was far away from their families or what have you. And it became your life. And then so when you got off and you got all these other, you got in your other positions, and I became a teacher, and you don't necessarily talk to anybody at work. I go into my classroom and shut the door and do my thing. Mm-hmm. And so you lose that like family connection. And when I got back, when I started doing these Tough Mudders, it was just like, wow, I have it, again, like all of a sudden I have 130 new friends within a few months. And, you just started connecting, and then, who's going to be at this event and who's going to be at that event. And it was just, an awesome experience. Like I wake up every morning to, we have a World's Toughest Mudder Girls Snapchat. That's how I spend my mornings, is seeing, bunny ears on Shark Bait, and Laura Foster and Danielle Coyer and Thrasher. And, we connect and we motivate each other through, ridiculous Snapchats. And it's funny, and it's, and it's like, if you don't post a sweaty, Snapchat that day, somebody's calling you out. And it's such a great, it's such a great community, and it's really helped me be, I guess, a better version of myself than I was last year. Completely changed my life.
You said something on the TV show. You said that you're not a super athlete. When I look at guys like Ryan
when I fell off the monkey, when I fell off the monkey bars, I have to make a statement about that one.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I've had a torn rotator cuff for quite a while. So, doing the monkey bars and stuff just was kind of a no. And I knew, I couldn't go into doing surgery or anything, or I'd be out of World's Toughest. So this was the SoCal event was the one that they filmed me at. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do the monkey bars. And then the producer and me became really good friends. He's like, well, you could just go up there and do like one or two. I was like, no, because then you're gonna shoot me falling, and then I'm gonna be falling on TV. And he's like, no, I won't. I'll just, I'll cut it off. And I was like, so you're not gonna show me falling? He's like, no. So just go up, and I'll get you in the beginning, standing there, and then you could do a few rail, and then you could drop. And I was like, oh, okay. So I did, of course. What makes the scene, me falling. And so as soon as I watched it, when it was first aired, I sent him a text message saying you owe me, and you owe me big. You said you would it. He's like, but it fit the scene.
That's funny.
So,
I was on that show for 1 second, and it was just me on Backstabber, not able to get up it, and someone having to help me. And the voiceover says something like, people can't do it without help. And I'm like, thanks, yeah.
Thanks a lot.
That was like the 11:30 a.m., the second day shot,
But going back to your question about my statement of not being the super, you look at, a lot of people think, the world's toughest mudder, you can't. I would never be able to do it. Or, and especially sometimes how the show was portrayed, even the world's toughest show, it was a lot about, there was a lot of more of the elite athletes, and a little bit less of the everyday, I would put myself in the everyday, I just want to go and, do this for myself. And I think the majority of the people that are out there are more closer to my realm or closer, in that mix of we're just going out to do our personal best.
Sure.
And not necessarily, and so the intimidation factor that I think a lot of people get, I don't really think that it needs to be there, but yet it's all about your own race. And I think that's kind of why I fell so much in love, with the Tough Mudder compared to some of the other communities where, they get bickering. Oh, well, he didn't do his burpees right, or he didn't do this, or, why are you worried about what other people? Let people do their own thing. And and so I think that's why Tough Mudder fits my, personnel. Because if, I have a torn rotator cuff and I don't want to do Funky Monkey, I don't necessarily have to. Yeah. I can go in and cheer on my friends, and, still do the rest of the race and not feel guilty about it.
Even just in a regular Tough Mudder, you don't have to run 10 miles straight. You run a little at the beginning, and then you get to an obstacle, and then you walk to the next obstacle, and then you jog for a mile. It's watching the videos. I was there, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is scary looking.
Right. Yeah. No. It does look, and then plus when they then they do the special effects and the slow motion and stuff, and it just makes it even that much more wow. We did the Mudder Muscle Beach thing.
Oh yeah.
And there was a part where I think I was coming out of Augustus Gloop, and so and even that it looked like it was so wow, Augustus Gloop, so intense, and that was actually one of my favorite obstacles, or at least the new obstacles. One, because you hadn't done it, and two, it was once I figured out how to do it, it was easy for me. I don't have any issues with confined spaces or water rushing. I think it takes a lot for me, because I used to jump out of helicopters for a living, so it takes a lot to get my fear level up, I guess. So more so a fear of failure or fear of not being able to do something, I would say. But but I did learn something, that I have a fear of uncontrollably falling. Like the cliff, I had no issues. There was no issue with that. But
Sure.
The only time that I've actually engaged is one of my training events is I went up and did Half Dome. And so when I was climbing up Half Dome, there's these, when you're summiting to the top, there's these metal cables, and going up was no problem, went all the way up. But when I came down, I slipped. I had to, actually grab onto one of the metal cables, and I was like hanging from, the rock about to plumage to my death, because I was holding on by my bad shoulder, of course. And, came up, and I realized, and I was frozen, and realized that and then I just kind of triggered some, I have this fear. I have a fear of uncontrollable falling. That's why I don't like snowboarding, because I can't control it. So as long as I feel that I can control it, I'm fine. But if there's the snow, or I lean a certain way and I might, wipe out or whatever, if there's some external factor, I don't want to deal with it. But if it's just jumping into an area and I can see the water and I can, then I'm fine.
I think fear of plummeting to your death is pretty normal.
Possibly.
What did you think about the new obstacles? Augustus Gloop.
I loved Augustus Gloop. Double Rainbow. Unfortunately, I didn't try. I wanted to try it my first round. I went to my orthopedics right before World's Toughest, and he told me not to do the event. And he said, well, if you're gonna do the event, you can't hang from your shoulder, or you will be out probably for at least a year to a year and a half. But I still trying to allow my shoulder to rehab. So I've been in physical therapy nonstop since December, 3 times a week, and blah blah blah. So I didn't do, but it looked really fun, and I think that actually might have been a little, the whole letting go of one thing to grab, that might have definitely been a little fearful for me. So
sure.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to try that. And I also, I did Funky Monkey the first time. Sure. My first round. I did not make it all the way across. I definitely hit the drink on that one, but it definitely was looked really fun and looked really challenging. Definitely gave me, so I've been increasing, trying to work on upper body and my grip strength, so that going into next year, I'll be able to roll with it, pending my shoulder is good. I really like Arctic Enema. What was kind of different is, we had done the last few events I'd gone, and we had done synchronized swimming in it. We did the ice baby, dance. So we were it's kind of ridiculous.
Right.
So then this one, what was weird is because you go in the tubes, and then you come up, and then there's the chain link right over the tube. So you can't do that panic stand up.
Yeah.
It forces you to stay down kind of low into the water. Yeah. And then so it was I remember I hit the chain link, and I was oh my God. It kind of I kind of got used to it. Mm-hmm. And so with that new, because I had done it, I would do it 2 times during an event, just because I kind of liked it, or I guess, maybe I have an issue. But, it was oh, so-and-so didn't do it. Oh, I'll do it with you, Right. And so, yeah, it kind of threw oh, wow. And having to stay underneath that chain link and then, crawling out. Yeah, that was definitely a change. And it made it a lot colder. Yeah. Yeah, definitely a lot colder.
That chain link in the middle. That chain link in the middle is almost like a little Rain Man. Right. They took it and brought it over.
And then I didn't know what to. I remember not knowing what to do. should I roll on my back like on Rain Man and like kind of crawl like through, or should I just kind of, so I ended up just staying low and then like swimming like in a breaststroke type pattern to try to get out. And all I could do is I remember when I did it, Phoebe was there and I could just hear her laughing at me like as I was going through, and I was like, hey now.
That's fun. Have you ever played? You ever do the paper, rock, scissors, and the winner gets to get out?
No, I haven't. I've seen it. I saw some of the guys do it. That's one of the reasons why we did our little dance move.
Right.
Is I think that was in Seattle, and it was Heather Heaton and Danielle Coyer and myself. And we had this whole plan, like the whole event. We talked about how we were going to do this, Ice Ice Baby, and and it was a combination of Ice Ice Baby and Baby Got Back. So Heather was singing Baby Got Back, and I was singing Ice Ice Baby, and Danielle was doing like her little cute impersonations. And so we had this like, okay, Danielle was going to go first, and Danielle sat up on the wall, and we were both on the other side, and she just decided she did not want to be like in Arctic Enema anymore.
Right.
And Heather like pushed her and like she flew off. And so we have like this like screenshotted of her like flying and like Heather's hand like on her rump. Yeah, that was hilarious. But then we got on the other side, and then me and Heather decided to do handstands.
Oh, geez.
The little synchronized swimming. So we did handstands and it made our feet do like these little twirly things. And you could actually see like the volunteers going, no. And we were like, oh no, we're okay. We're fine.
That's fun.
And we jumped out, and it was definitely cold with your head like underneath and then plus, with all your blood rushing to your head because you're in a handstand inverted position.
Yeah, no, I believe it.
That was fun.
Oh, hey, back to Arctic Enema 3.0 for a sec. Did you guys go down the tube feet first or head first?
Feet first.
Feet first. They were telling people to do it
Yeah.
head first later, and I was like,
oh, really?
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think I would have argued with that. Because what are they going to do? I volunteer all the time, so I would have been like, yeah, no, it's okay. I'm with so-and-so. They said I could do it this way.
What's your favorite obstacle?
Right now, I really like Block Nest. I would definitely say, I look forward to each one because you always have like a different experience going in there. And then I just like staying there and kind of helping people and helping, so usually I spend a good, 20 to 30 minutes, at that obstacle, just, doing it a few times or watching people or trying to ensure people do it the right way. Like, cause I've volunteered many times at that obstacle, as a lifeguard or a emergency first responder. And so you kind of get, that, okay, everybody do this and so I like to actually be in the water and, help people out on that. But the new obstacle definitely, I think, would be Augustus Gloop. I just enjoy doing that. I enjoyed combating with the overbuoyancy with my wetsuit. Like I couldn't get myself up in the tube because I was super buoyant, and so my legs were like floating out.
What's the hardest obstacle for you?
At World's Toughest, definitely the two that I had to like psych myself up every time I walked up to them were Pyramid Scheme and Backstabber. Mm-hmm. And Pyramid Scheme, I think because I did my one lap, I actually really only had problems, but it was that fear that I was going to have that problem again. So every time that I came up to it, there was a little bit of an anxiety, like, okay, did I regain my strength? Am I going to be able to do it again? And then Backstabber is just, the pegs started going, they were loose, and it was just that you're just tired. And it's normally not an issue like on a regular course. I've never had, but at, that repeated time and doing it time after time, it really kind of takes a lot out of you. But those were the two that, I had dreams for like weeks before that. My roommates built backstabber in the backyard, and I had to get out of my room. I had to go over backstabber.
Backstabber
to
was
go to the
haunting
bathroom.
your dreams.
Yes. That was I remember waking up one morning and texting you, please tell me you didn't build a backstabber, because I'm not opening my eyes until I know that this was just a dream.
The pyramid scheme made people nervous before the race. We saw the map and we said, pyramid scheme, how is that going to be?
Like, how are you going to do it during World's Toughest? Yeah.
But for anyone who wasn't there, they altered it. They drilled some holes in it's a regular pyramid scheme ramp, but they drilled holes in it and they put a 2 or 3 foot rope coming out of it about every 5 or 6 feet going up the ramp. So you could kind of grab onto one and then lunge up and grab the next one. And I think with 3 ropes, you could get yourself to the top.
Right. But towards and some of the ropes were a little bit longer than others. And then towards, through the night, they just got unraveled and frayed. Mm-hmm. So it did make it, just because of the wear and tear on the obstacle, the later it was, not only were you exhausted, but, the ropes were far from new condition. I mean, there was one that just looked like a ratted pigtail.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any obstacles where when you come up to it, you're like, oh, not this again?
The Gambler. Mm-hmm. I got a little anxiety every time. Like, I was like, okay, just because it was that I could have it really easy and just, or you could, roll the wrong number and, have to, get the one. And it just seemed like anytime I was in good spirits, I got something easy. And anytime that I was like, tired or exhausted or just, having a pity party of one, I would get like one. I must have rolled one like 4 times. So it was just like, okay. And then it was, or nobody would be there. And so it was like, all right, I could do this.
Which wall was number 1?
It was I think it was just there was no assistance. So it was just the straight,
the regular 8-foot
maybe
wall.
a 6 regular wall, like a 6-foot wall where you had to get over. And, having no energy. I think that was just, I just didn't want to do it.
The Gambler, for anyone who wasn't there, you walk up to a table and the volunteers have a die that you throw, a 1 through regular die, 1 through 6, and whichever number you get picks the wall that you're going to go over. And the odd numbers were like really hard walls, and the even numbers were easier walls. Like they had extra steps or ledges or grips or something.
It was like wasn't it like one? The even numbers were like the easier version, or one that had an assistance.
Yeah.
Of the other one.
Yeah. So every time you walked up, you're like 2, 4, 6. I don't care which one, just 2, 4, 6.
Right. And then I would psych myself out, like which, because I started, with the orange, because there was different colors.
Right.
Oh, is it going to matter? Like, what color should I choose? Like, if I break away from using the orange one, like, is that going to matter?
I had the volunteer roll for me, and I had good luck with that. And then
really?
They changed volunteers, and they're like, yeah, we can't do that. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, they had dependent, and that was like the same with the grappler. Like some of the volunteer. If you hold the rope, I can't let it go, or I can't throw it back. And then like towards, I remember the end, like there was a volunteer that was up there screaming at us, you cannot grab on the rope after, so it was just it changed up a little bit.
What's the best moment you've ever had on a Tough Mudder course or World's Toughest?
Gosh, the best moment. I would really say my favorite Tough Mudder event moment would be with Seattle, and it was on our Sunday Fun Day, and we were just I had just re-injured my shoulder that day, so Sunday Fun Day was we were banana boxes, running the course, and I did the entire course with a banana box around my waist. And it was fun. It was fun, just the atmosphere, the people, and that course is absolutely beautiful. And at the end, we didn't do, Danielle Corrier and I did not do electroshock. So afterwards, we were sitting drinking beer watching, everybody go through EST.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at her and I was like, we didn't do EST. I'm kind of feeling guilty. And it had happened to have been Carlo's 25th event, Piss and Cox.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, hey, Carlo, I think we should go do EST. And he said, no, he didn't think that was a good idea. I said, yeah, but it's your 25th and you should totally do it. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing EST. Well, then coach comes up and I was like, hey, coach, we want to do EST with you. And he was like, I said, we didn't do it and we're feeling guilty. And so then coach goes, hey, E-Rock. And then it became this thing. And so E-Rock got Carlo to do it. And then Carlo, well, he didn't make Kevin do it. He had Kevin Chow came by. And Kevin Chow, of course, he would
do,
that in his, he'd do it in his sleep. He could probably make a bed there and he would be happy. So then we all, and I guess CBS recorded it, but we never saw it. I mean, it never made it. But so they got all mic'd up and I was holding, I was holding, I think, E-Rock and Danielle, and we're running through it. And E-Rock fell and I pulled him up. And, we kept on throwing, and he was like, you saved me. And I was like, yeah, I know. So that was all, you just became the thing. I said, yeah, I saved you in EST, you owe me. So, and it was just this great, moment. And of course, coach and Kevin ran back and forth, a few times,
mm-hmm.
in EST while we were over there congratulating ourselves. But, it was just this, fun moment, these people are my family. This is my tribe. They're all crazy. They're all just as messed up as I am or what have you. And we're having a good time. At World's Toughest Mudder, my favorite moment, honestly, was crossing that finish line. There was just so much emotion put into that weekend, that event, that was just my clean slate, my everything, and actually running in. And when I got my headband put on, and then Tim Slaby was there, and he kind of caught me because I collapsed, and he kind of picked me up and gave me over to Sean. And then the camera crews were there and they were interviewing me and stuff, and I was just, I'm kind of glad they didn't air it, because I think I was just fumbling at the words. I don't even think I was coherently speaking at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But just that moment of accomplishment, so many people told me, you're not ready, you shouldn't do this event, and just being able to prove to myself that I could do it, or I did do it. It was just a really good feeling.
What's the lowest point you've been at a Tough Mudder, the world's toughest?
That was that lap 5. It was I was on pyramid scheme. It actually got caught. Brad Kerr took some photos, and I at that time I had no clue he was photographing me, and I was literally hanging from, I think, the second rope that was hanging down.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally couldn't move. And I was in tears. I was crying because I was like, it can't be over. Because, that pyramid scheme was a mandatory complete obstacle. So if I didn't do it, there was no penalty I could take, or I was done with the race. And so I was just like, this can't be the end of my story. I'm not ready for it to be over. And I think I got myself so worked up on that part, I forgot to do the little things, okay, maybe give that little bit more effort. And it wasn't until somebody new came up onto the obstacle, because there was another guy that was having trouble, and I think he was on 2 ropes down.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else was kind of a little bit of a blur. And then he was like, hey, tough Tiff, I got you. And I was like, I can't do it. I was crying, I can't do it. And I was just overwhelmed with emotion. And he was like, he just said something just shut up, you got this. this is what you're going to do. And I was like, okay. And he just told, like, pick up your legs, you're going to lean back. And I don't know, miraculously, my body all of a sudden started working. And I got up I got up pyramid scheme, and I came over at, the wall, and I was just like, okay. And then for the whole rest of from pyramid skiing basically to the cliff, I picked a spot like 2 feet in front of me. Okay, you could just walk there. And that's just one of the lessons I learned from Jim Campbell, was that don't look at it for the next mile. Just, it's one step at a time, and just focus on that next step and that next step. And I just kept on repeating that to myself over and over and over again. It's just that next step. And that just seemed to get me through. And then at I got up and I did the cliff, climbed up, went into my pit. And then my pit crew wasn't there. And they had thought I was a lot slower, so they were still waiting for me at the cliff. And I remember just sitting there feeling like having a pity party of one, like, nobody's here. What am I going to do? And then to a point where I actually hid in my tent, and I saw their shadows on the outside of the tent. And for like 5 seconds, I was like, well, if I just get under these blankets, they won't even know that I'm in here. And then I remember Nicole opened the tent, and I was just sitting there, and she was like, what the hell are you doing? Get up. She just started like, yelling at me, and just like, we got to get you on. You're freezing cold. You're shivering, she went into like panic trainer mode, and it was, definitely the reality check that I kind of needed, because I remember, and I don't know how long I was literally staring at their shadows. In my mind, I remember it as like, 5 to 10 minutes. It could have been a little bit longer. It could have been shorter. But I just remember seeing like Nicole and Kevin's like shadow, and just like going like, well, they don't even know I'm in here. They might think I'm out on the obstacles. I could stay in here for just a little bit longer. Like, and it was just that overtiredness, just, thing like just playing in your head. And, I was so glad that I had Nicole with me. She was just she's a trainer that I had been working with. And she owns a OCR camp that's an outdoor facility in Fallbrook, California. So it's just a phenomenal training ground. It's on a 7-acre property, and there's just, pretty much everything. And if I don't think I would be where I was if it wasn't for her facility, because definitely taught me how to climb a wall, and, strength, and, getting daily practice, on obstacles.
Mm-hmm. What's it called?
But it's called Platinum OCR.
Okay.
It's phenomenal facility. They usually do Saturday or Sunday training camps, but she opens it up every once in a while. But during my show at Road to World's Toughest, where my pre-event stuff was all filmed there. So I think they had me carrying logs, and there was one time of me jumping over the 6-foot wall. That was over at her facility, but she was there, and she's just this little 110-pound ball of energy, and just a phenomenal athlete. And she was, got me back on, because I had told her, these are my goals. These are what I want. This is what, and she reminded me. And every lap that I did for someone who I'd lost to cancer, or someone who died in the military. And so she was like, you need to get out. You still have this lap you need to do for this person, and you said you were going to do it, And so it was just really good to have her there, and to be and she really motivated me.
Mm-hmm. One more thing you said on the Tough Mudder show, you said Tough Mudder changed my life.
Yeah.
How would you say Tough Mudder changed your life?
So much happened in the period of my life where I got out from the military, and I kind of lost my social connection, and I got absorbed into the mom role. And I was a full-time student. So I went from, I got my bachelor's and I got my master's degree, and I I stopped working out. I stopped socializing, and got my teaching credential. And I moved myself and my son to the Middle East in 2010, and that's when I met my ex-husband. And being immersed in a domestic violence marriage, in a culture that I didn't, it was completely different from ours, and laws and regulations that kind of supported things. I lost the spunk. I was just surviving. I was just doing what I could do to protect my son, and survive. And when I separated from my ex-husband in 2014, but we were still married until 2015. When I got diagnosed, it was just like, okay, instantly divorce. I'm taking my life back. I want to live again. And Tough Mudder was kind of the platform that allowed me to become myself again, to become the smart ass that I've always been, to be sarcastic, to just like-minded, crazy people, in a good way, like the good kind of crazy, the fun crazy. It gave me something to get off the couch and say, you know what, I have an event next week, so really I shouldn't be eating this, or I really should be going out and doing that, training this weekend, or, there's always a goal. Like, okay, so like right now, I have, the toughest events and the, Tough Mudder, that I'm going to be doing with a few new, bringing, as an ambassador now that I'm trying to recruit new people. So I don't want to be out there and not in shape or not being able to do something with new people that I'm trying to guide, so there's always just that motivation. And then I think the biggest part of it is just the community, the people that I've met, daily interactions with people all over the U.S. and all over the world. There's people from the UK Mudders and Germany and that you bond to, and via Facebook or Messenger or Snapchat now, you keep in touch and you motivate each other, and they became family. And one of the, some of the girls that I've met, one of the girls, Danielle Coyer, we didn't find out until at World's Toughest. We were from the same hometown. And, we met through Tough Mudder, so it was just, and it also changed, my son. My son is done. He will be doing his first Tough Mudder. He's 14 now. So since they changed the age, he'll be doing his first Tough Mudder in LA. Mm-hmm. And it's motivated, him. And it's given him, he saw me very weak. He saw me, when I didn't really like myself very much, and to have him see me in a positive light, doing these events, seeing me on TV, it's making me not earn his respect, but to see him proud of me just makes me even that more so the fact that, we've done a 360 this year. We're complete, it's back to, me and him against the world. And I'm so excited about him doing his first event. He's not very excited about, we're probably going to have him do the half as a start. And then if he likes it, maybe in Atlanta, he'll do the full. But it's a new way of life.
Special thanks to Tiffany Aab for appearing on this week's episode. Thanks a lot, Tiffany. Don't forget to shoot us an email at World's Toughest Podcast to sign up for the Merrell shoes giveaway. 3 pairs this month, and then 1 pair the rest of the year. Check it out. Next week, Toughest Mudder Atlanta preview. Thanks a lot.